be in Chrome. I
Yep.
don't like using Chrome.
I use Chrome all the time for everything.
I don't like it. It's
But
okay. I'll survive.
anyway,
We're here.
things are going crazy for us.
I'm telling you, I'm like, I should have joined Midnight Publishing, what, 6 months ago when you first started?
Yeah,
A
well,
year ago?
a
Whatever.
year ago almost now. Yep, a year ago. Both of your books passed the inspection. They're going live. I'm having to tweak Linda's because hers are so big.
Yes.
Yesterday, when I put it up, everything looked fine. This morning, Amazon came back and said, well, you got to fix these pages. And what you have to do, and ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're talking about today is children's books versus regular print books. With children's books, you because you sent yours to a third party printer, okay?
Uh-huh.
They have the ability to maneuver and tweak and do what they needed to do to print those books. When you do it on Amazon, what I
You've
had
got to fit into their format.
yes, well, it goes a step further. I had to take all the illustrations, turn them into JPEGs, then bring them back to Word, load them into Word as an insert, save that Word doc as a PDF file, load it up on Amazon so I could bleed the file.
Yes. And I think we should explain to our lovely listeners what bleed is.
Oh, it's
In fact,
go
let me,
right ahead, Mary.
I will, but hold on. I'm going to do something. I'm going to get something real quick. Wherever you are. Okay. Because I finished reading Murder in the Village yesterday, and I want to tell everybody what a great book this is. It is so much fun. Um, and as you can see, it's a book. It's just a regular book. It's very black and white. The cover is great. But inside the pages are just pages. That's it.
No, no pictures.
No pictures. And if you do want to write a book that's not a children's book and put pictures in it, they have to be black and white.
Yes.
But when we talk about bleed, we're talking about this. It goes all the way to every single edge and even down the middle. Because if you don't, you're going to have a white spot. And when Amazon gets real bent out of shape over bleeding, it's because sometimes, okay, here's a page that's on white, and it's
Mhm.
fine. They don't complain about that, but they complain about this because they want to make sure that when they cut it to size, it doesn't have this white border. That's just the cover of the book that's doing that. But they want to make sure that the products that they send out look as good as possible.
Yep.
Because if they don't, what's going to happen? People are going to
Returns.
get the book and they're going to return it. And this brings us to, I know that it's a sore spot with a lot of people with using Amazon. Well, why don't I get paid for a month? Well, honey, you can't get paid till they get paid.
And not
And
only that, but it's 2 months out.
right, but they want to make sure that the people don't return the product.
Exactly.
I recently had to buy a brand new computer. My laptop died, and I guess I'm just hard on electronics. Curtis thinks there may be something in my office because I have in the last um, 6 months I have lost my laptop. I have lost my monitor, and then my second computer, which wasn't a laptop, it was a mini PC. It's just about that big. Um, it died. Well, it wasn't the computer, it was the power cord. But Curtis says something in my office is probably zapping
Hmm.
everything so that he's going to have to come in here and do some electrical stuff and figure it all out. But my power cord on my little mini PC died exactly 2 weeks after my warranty or my return. It's still under warranty with the manufacturer, but my Amazon return died 2 weeks prior to my cable dying, so I couldn't return it. But if that had happened, then Amazon, and in fact, I recently had something interesting with Etsy. I had a situation where I ordered something, and what I got was exactly what I ordered, except they didn't customize it properly.
Uh-oh.
I wanted it to say, signed by the author Mary Brotherton. It said, from the library of Mary Brotherton. No, that's a big
That's not what you
This is
asked
something
for.
I'm taking. Exactly. I mean, she might as well have sent me a pink one instead of a purple one, because I didn't ask for orange. And so I had a hard time getting the seller to respond to my email. And then about a week later, I got a comment from an email from Etsy. Did Samantha resolve your problem? And I'm like, no.
Nope.
So then Etsy said, tell us what happened. So I did. Etsy immediately refunded my money. And they didn't take it out of the seller's funds and made a point to tell us that. This was just Etsy being good business. And Amazon will not do that. If Amazon loses a nickel, you better believe
They're
you're
gonna
not
get it
getting
back.
that nickel. Yeah. They have a different ethos about business.
As they should.
Yes.
Because people would be returning stuff all the time. And they would soon go broke. And the beauty of publishing your books now with Midnight Publishing instead of your third party printer, and ladies and gentlemen, this is so important. They had to buy a minimum of books. Don't know how many. They didn't tell me. Don't want to know. But they had to buy a minimum of books, which cost hundreds of dollars they may or may not sell.
Well, I will tell you this. This was a lesson that I had to learn over time. The very first book that I did was called Go With Angels. And I was so proud of my book, like most brand new authors are. I just knew that it was going to sell like hotcakes at IHOP. And so I ordered 500, because if you order the minimum, which can be as low as 50 copies at one place, but then the more, it's like with everything. If you
Right.
order more, you get a discount. So you pay, it all boils down to how much per copy am I paying for this book. So I could have paid $10 a copy and had to charge that on to my readers, or I could have paid $5 a copy. Or if I'd have ordered, 10,000, I could have gotten for $1 a copy. But I ordered 500, and then I'm still selling them. The boxes piled up, And then the second time I printed a book, I thought I'll order fewer. And so I think I ordered 350 or 250 or something like that. And the third time I ordered even less. And that's what Linda did with her book too. She kind of went with my experience of what I had gone through. But each time we shopped these books out at, I'll say, a dozen different printers. And every one of our books are published by third parties, each one different, because today printer A might have a deal going. Tomorrow printer B might not have a deal, but they've got a little discount. So you have to gauge all this. And this is something that you don't have to do when you're
And
publishing on Amazon.
also, with third-party printers, ladies and gentlemen, they usually charge a printing cost it's a setup charge, because they have to set the type, they have to set the size, they have to set the color, they have to set this, that, and everything. So the setup charge
Yeah.
for that particular book is a one-time charge. Now, if you shop printers like Mary is talking about, every time you go to a different printer, they charge you a new setup charge.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was able to finagle a little bit. I was able to work with people and I could get them to drop the setup. But I will tell you something else. If you're doing your children's book and you go with a third party, and if you do this with Amazon, you're going to want to get what they call a galley. I would say with children's books, maybe not so much, but when you're dealing with something like this that has lots, and I mean, look at those words. There's lots of words in that page, those 2 pages. But you're going to want to go back and look at a sample of the printed book and check it for errors. Because not only could you have made an error, God forbid, but the printing, sometimes pages shift. Things happen that you don't always know about and aren't prepared for. And I am an editor, folks, but I'll tell you, even editors need editors. And even though I had people look at my books, I think a lot of times when I ask people to look at my book, they go, well, Mary's an editor. She hasn't made any mistakes. Let me just read it. So they read it for the story, and they don't actually come through and critique it with a good, keen eye. So when I get my galleys, I look at them, and I find mistakes. Always.
Well, and the thing is, we talk about this. What the reading public also doesn't understand, I've read, quote unquote, best-selling authors from traditional publishers, and there's mistakes. I just pass over them. It does not ruin the story. It's human error. None of us are perfect.
You see this?
Yep.
And then this. Now these are 2 that I found in just going through some files. I have, I guess, 3 or 4 on my wall that are even bigger than this. But you see that red pin? That's my mark. You know, that's I carry this because, and I point it there, and I take a picture of, because I don't believe in marking up books.
Right.
I don't like to do that. But I find mistakes. I mean, the gravity begins. I'm sorry. You know, they just didn't go back and fix it.
But it happens.
It happens all the time. People can't help it because we're human.
Even in newspapers.
Oh, especially in newspapers.
I have found errors. Jack and I, we used to get the newspaper because we liked reading the newspaper. And I would read something to him and I'd say, what does this mean? What? And we'd have to figure out what they meant because A, they either used the wrong word or they misspelled the word or they left a word out. It happens.
I recently found something and I've turned it into a post. I think it's going to be coming out later in August. I schedule my post most of the time. But it was so funny. It was a sports writer and it had a picture of the cover, you know, the front page of the sports section of this baseball pitcher. Well, he could pitch with his left hand or his right hand. And if anybody knows what that means he was ambidextrous. The headlines, however, said amphibious.
Okay, he's a fish.
And they had at the top, are you 100% sure this is the right word? Because apparently the editor and the writer couldn't come to terms. Why nobody pulled out a dictionary, I'll never understand.
Gotta love dictionaries.
But the little taglines on it was, are you sure this is the right word? And the writer said, I'm 80% sure. And so the editor said, run it, print it. And I thought to myself, if you're 80% sure, is that worth staking your career on?
No.
You know, I'd say at least 95% sure. And when it's a word like, you know, and this is something that I tell my writers that I work with all the time. If you're not sure of a word and you can't find it in a dictionary, come up with another word.
Exactly. Or if you're not sure of the meaning of the word.
I mean, the ambidextrous or amphibious, folks, we didn't explain what amphibious means. If you don't know, that means you can live underwater or on
Underwater.
land.
Yeah. You've
But
heard of amphibious vehicles. They
yes,
run on the water and they run on the land.
frogs are amphibious,
There you go.
and certain catfish are amphibious.
They're scary when they crawl up on the land.
Yes,
But
they are.
the thing in writing that a lot of people don't understand is the word may sound pretty, it may sound good, but if you put it in that context of the sentence or the paragraph or that particular scene and it just doesn't fit, take it out and put another word in. Because
I
I'm
mean,
going to
sure, it takes time and space, and real estate in a newspaper is precious. It takes more space to say this picture can use either hand.
right.
Ambidextrous is a nice, as my son says, his friends tell him he likes to use $5 words when a nickel word will do.
There you go.
And you don't want to show off your vocabulary if you're not 100% certain
Because
that you've
what is
chosen
it
the right word.
better to look like a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt?
Or write a book.
And remove all doubt. So,
And especially with children's books.
yes, they have to be. They have to be on the children's level.
Now, anybody who picks up one of my books will know that I don't dumb down anything, whether it's an adult book or a children's book. And I do use some pretty big words in my children's books. And the reason I do that is they're not so big that the parents can't understand them. And that gives the parents the opportunity to help their children learn a new word. But
Which is
also, children are not as dumb as we like to think they are. They're vastly capable of handling a lot bigger words than a lot of adults are because we get lazy as we get older.
We do. And I had a thought while I was putting the children's books up. This is why I sent you the text message I sent you yesterday about recording the book. Because let's say Mama doesn't have time to sit down and read Little Tommy to Little Tommy. We do the audible, then Little Tommy can sit and hold the book or the Kindle while he's listening to the audible, because this is something that Amazon offers. They offer the Kindle and the Audible in a package.
Nice.
So it teaches Johnny to read, to comprehend, plus how to sound out words while he's looking at the word.
And there's something special about having the author read
There
your
is.
own work.
There is.
Because the author will automatically know some things that a random reader will not.
Right.
Especially if the author may not have had it professionally edited, or may have had it professionally edited, but still there are certain nuances that the author can throw in that a random reader.
Right.
Because if you're using AI generated, they're going to sound a bit robotic.
Actually, Amazon's doing a really good job. As I started out with them doing
I heard yours. I
with their
listened to
beta.
yours, and how did you find a Southern reader?
It's on the list.
I love that.
It's
'Cause
on
it was
the
almost like having you reading it.
See, and as Amazon progresses with the AI,
Uh-huh.
I've seen a difference from when we started with the beta, because they contacted me and said, "Will you do the beta with?" Yeah, of course.
Yes.
And as I've put more and more books up, the voices are changing more and more human, if that makes sense. And before we move on, Mary's books, her children's books, is Sally's Heart, which is based on a true story about her cousin, and My Angel book, which talks about how there are angels out there and children see them daily. We as adults, sometimes we get jaded and we don't see the simple things that maybe are angels. I always say
We
there's
don't
angels
always
among us.
appreciate the natural beauty of the
No,
world.
we do not.
And that's basically what my angel book does. It introduces children to where they can find angels. And it's also going to introduce the parents.
There
And
you go.
remind the parents that they're out there everywhere.
Every single day. Now, Linda's book, her name's Linda Annie Humphrey, and she wrote
Ani,
Ani. She wrote Cornfield Flyers of East Tennessee, and it's about she was um, inspired by the paragliders that
Yeah.
rise up. Looks like they're rising up out of the cornfields in East Tennessee. And if you've never been in East Tennessee, you don't know what you're missing. This is the book that I'm still working on. I'm still tweaking the pages. I've put it up. It goes through review. It comes back. It says, "Okay, Yvonne, now you got to fix these," and it's a process. But her book also is up for pre-order on Kindle. And did you get with her about doing the Audible?
I talked to her, yes.
So see, so many things have happened this weekend. It has been absolutely unbelievable.
She may or may not do that because she's not as technologically savvy as you and I are.
That's all right. I'll do an AI.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. We'll do an AI for her because
It's really a cute book because it's almost a story within a story.
That's
Because
very
she's educating people about these powered paragliders.
say that fast 3 times.
I gave up on that a long time ago. But they're people she actually knows. And she's never gone up in a glider with them. I asked her, why not? She said, are you crazy? I said, no. You get me to Tennessee, I want you to take me out and let me go. I want to go up in one.
Yep.
But she also knew a young family of, I think it was 5 children, who used to watch these men fly over, well, and some women, but predominantly it's a masculine type sport. But anyway, they would watch these paragliders from their back porch. And so what Linda did is she had it as a narration to tell the story, but each picture is a poem.
And they're
each-
beautiful.
I think I have 2 that are my favorites. I love the spider glider
Yeah.
because it's so cute and it's from a child's perspective of what if a spider gets on my glider? What do I do? And the other one that I just absolutely adore is Peanut Butter and Jelly Mountain.
Oh, that's a cute one too.
Yeah.
Very cute. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, when we set out criteria for authors to send us their books, there's a very good reason for it. Extremely good reason. Mary's been in this business a minute too, so she knew what I needed when she sent me those children's books. I needed the PDF file. I needed the pictures. I needed her bio. I needed her headshot because all of that I used to not recreate the book, but to fix it so it would go up on Amazon.
Yeah.
And we
The thing is, the reason I could have sent the PDF to Amazon myself and they might or might not have taken it. But by sending it to Yvonne, she saw my vision for the book. But she also knows that if she has to take something out or shrink something or reformat, she's got my permission to do that to my book. It's not a big deal. And I think it's a very, I'll say narrow-minded person who approaches a publisher. Now, with Yvonne, you've got the world's greatest broadest minded person to work with. But a lot of publishers would say, you're going to do it my way or you're not going to do it at all.
That's
And if you can't give me what I'm asking for, you can hit the road. Yvonne will work with you, and unless you prove to be extremely difficult. But as long as you do what she asks you to, it's going to be a piece of cake.
in fact, we changed.
Better to send her more information than not enough.
I changed the back cover of both books, and before I did anything with them, I sent them to her and I said, "Are you married to these covers that you already have?" And the first one she said, "Can we change the back to the green on the front?" I said, "Well, do you want to blend in or do you want to stand out? It's your call.
That was all I needed to hear.
If you want to blend in, we'll blend in. It won't look right, but
Oh,
okay."
do I look like I like blending in with anybody?
So the back cover of Sally's Heart is two intertwined hearts because it's about organ donation. And
Yeah.
the back cover is a brown, which picks up the brown in the front. It picks up the different browns, and the hearts are red, and there's green going up either side.
Yep.
And then with my angel book, I sent, because on the first run that she sent to the printers, it had her information, and it was too busy for a child.
It was, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, this is a lot.
It is a
The
lot.
back of a book. And you don't need that much. Children don't care. They just want to read the book.
And so I changed the back cover to show a child sitting down with an angel hovering and said, "What do you think?" And she said, "Go for it." So this is what I do as an artist, an author, a photographer. As I read your work, the book is like characters in my head. It's like a movie. It starts building itself.
Yep.
And when I did one of Andrea's books that way. Andrea sent me a short story book, and she had the cover. She loved the cover. And so as I'm reading her stories, this cover started building itself. So I sent her the front of the cover that I built, and I said, "Are you married to your cover? What do you think about this?" And I thought she was going to come through the computer. She was so excited. It's a gift, ladies and gentlemen. Do I make mistakes? Of course I do. Sometimes I don't like the cover, so I scratch it and start over. But you have to open your mind. You have to have the ability to open your mind to the possibilities of what you can put together, because the story is the cover is the beginning of the story.
The cover is what people see first.
Exactly.
And if you go to Amazon and you're looking for a specific cover or a specific book, you'll find it. But if you just say children's books, oh my gosh. Or if you say children's books about angels, children's books about, well, it's not likely you're going to look for a children's book about cornfields unless you've heard about it.
Right.
There are not that many children's books about organ donations.
Nope.
But there are some. But if you just look for a children's book generically, you're going to come across hundreds of thousands of books.
They're everywhere.
And then if you go into a bookstore, you're going to go to the children's department. You're going to see all these books. Your book has to stand out. Your book has to grab their attention. And if it doesn't, it will never get purchased. It will never get read.
It'll just sit on the shelf. And that's what I ask
And
everybody. Do you want to blend in or do you want to stand out? If you want to stand out, we can make you stand out. The people that bought Murder in the Village here in the village, they were like kids in a candy store. They loved the cover. When they saw the cover, they loved the cover because the cover drew them in as to what the heck was going to go on. A friend of mine I got to her house. She was reading the book. We had to make an airport run night before last. She read it all the way to the airport. She read it all, and they were late coming in, so we were late picking them up. She was reading it all the way back home. She was laughing and giggling. Of course, the other friend we picked up, she had not read it yet. We, Louise and I couldn't talk about it because we didn't want to spoil it for her. So we go to Olive Garden here in Vero for dinner, and all of a sudden she pulls this book out, and she's got like 3 pages left to read, and she's determined to finish this book. So she's reading
That's
this
the
book.
way this book is. It is unputdownable.
She's reading this book during dinner. Then we told the server about it, and we made him laugh till he thought he was going to wet his pants. And we were telling him about the drag queens and how they're just a hot mess. And he had to sit down and get on Amazon and look at my books.
Oh my goodness.
So the the cover is so important. And in this mass marketing where publishers just throw books out there, slap a cover over it, and move on, we don't do that. To me, the cover is just as important
Well,
as
I want
the
to, I've showed everybody the cover.
right.
Look at the back, folks. I mean, it's just such a great image, and when you read the book, you're like, oh, that's why there's a lake at the back, or a pond, or whatever you call it, Oh, I understand.
And we made up a new genre. We call it a dramedy. And people go, "What the hell is a dramedy?" A
It's a
dramedy is
drama and a comedy, or a comedic drama.
there you go. Because it is not all doom and gloom. Because when you add the protagonist, whose name is Greer, she is the main character in the story. When you add her dry wit, and then you bring in my 3 drag queens, love my drag queens. The girls, they're already saying, "Oh, we're going to be in the sequel," and I'm saying, "No, you're not." And they're going, "Yes, we are." Would you stop?
You can't do it without them.
They are a hot mess
You can't have another Greer book without the three
without
girls.
the girls.
Without the three drag queens from South Florida. You
Yeah,
can't.
they show that
And
their first appearances in the Pink Canary. If you want to know about my drag queens, you got to read the Pink Canary because yeah, they drive the train most of the time. But that's true in everything
but
we
you know
write.
what I
Audrey.
what I loved about this book was it's not only a drama and a comedy, it's also a mystery.
True.
It's a whodunit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a genre bending book, and
That
it's not one of those big gigantic books that takes forever to get to the plot. I mean, it's like 120
44 pages.
145, my love.
145.
145 pages, real thin, which is why it's easy. But I'll tell you what, I have 2 books that stacked together are not this thick. Somebody gave them to me and said, "Here, read my book. I think you'll love it." Where's my spoon? Because I need to be gagged. It was horrible. This poor fellow thinks he's a great writer. He's not. And
That's sad.
I can't even write a review. It's that bad. Haven't gotten through either of the books. They're very thin. And he published them in double space.
No. No.
Yes. Yes.
Oh.
And I'm looking at it like it's basically a manuscript. But my God, it's so boring. It's definitely an ego fix for him, but I ended up I haven't burned them yet, but they're close to my burn pile. I don't really like burning books. My son hesitates not a moment. If he doesn't like a book, if it makes him mad, he'll burn it. He'll take it outside and he'll just light it on fire on the driveway.
Oh my
But
word.
yeah, he's very opinionated when it comes to books that are bad. But yeah, when you get a book like Yvonne's, it just sucks you in from the minute that you open it. It's like, it's a big straw you're using, but I've been sucked in.
Well,
And
I,
you just read and read and read
the
until
the
you're done.
the funny thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this book, because I don't believe in revenge, I let karma handle things, and because I'm older now and wiser now, and the best way to kill off people that piss me off, because I do not rock orange. We all know I don't rock orange. Mm-mm.
No, you're definitely a black girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe dark gray.
Well, I wear grays and browns and navies and deep reds and and dark purples because they're earth tones. But the best way for a writer to help karma is to kill people off in a book. And you would not believe the people that have said, "Why am I not in this book? I can't put 50 people in a book." I said, "I
Maybe
got
next time.
sequels coming. Just be patient. You'll show up." But the the book opens with a punch, does it not?
Oh, definitely.
And when you put the protagonist with this sardonic wit in there, and you have a detective with a name that only us children from the boomer age recognize and understand the joke behind his name, and some of the things that happen in the book happen to me in this village, and folks know
Well,
it.
that's what makes it so believable.
Yeah,
Is because things, you pull from reality.
you do.
You know what's scary when you write a memoir. Somebody reads it and they go, "Well, this didn't really happen. I
Yep.
was there. It didn't happen." I actually had that with both of my sons. One of them, well, they both read it, and the oldest one said, "Mom, why would you say this happened? This didn't happen." And his brother elbowed him. He said, "Oh, yes, it did. You just weren't here."
There
One
you
had joined the Navy, so he missed all the fun. But it's interesting when somebody challenges your memories. You write, I mean, that's what a memoir is.
go. Right.
These are your memories. And they're your memories as you recall them. Now, sure, you might use a little literary license depending on how the book is written.
True.
But if it's a straight memoir, it's just your memory the way you remember them. And you don't need anybody else to challenge you on that because
It
they
didn't
can't
happen
be
to
in
them.
your head.
Right.
They can remember the same situation, but just like 12 people can look at an auto accident the same time, and the cops are going to get 12 different statements.
Because people don't always see this, they don't see the same thing at the same time because they're all not looking in the same microscope.
No, and you don't always experience the same memory the same way.
Mm-mm.
Um, it all depends on whether you're out to sea, living down the hall, or actually in the parents' bedroom. That's where the difference comes in.
And perception is a huge part of a memory. One person's perception of an incident is not the same as another person's perception of that same incident. And
No, because especially in my situation, you've got a mother and two children. They may
correct.
have been grown-up children at the time, but they were still offspring. And that gives it a different
Meaning.
perspective, is the only word I can
And they
think
were
of.
different, they were different
point of view.
ages. They were different ages with different maturity levels. So what one
Yes.
child perceived it as one thing, the older child may have perceived it as another thing, and it's really not what happened at all. Because they didn't see the entire picture. They only saw
And
snippets
then
of the
and you've got
picture.
different personalities to bring into play. You've got one who's super independent, very charismatic. I'll do it myself, and you'll follow along. And then you got another one who's a little less evolved, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
They ain't got there yet.
Yeah.
We have a lot of those here in the village. There's a line in the book that said, years ago, most villages only had one idiot. This
Oh
village
yes,
has
I
an
love
idiot.
that. That was good.
Can't help it. It just, there's
just
so
comes out.
much to work with here. So much. So, see, this, ladies and gentlemen, rolls back to our publishing children's books and publishing in general. If you have a desire to publish a child's book, don't let that hinder you,
Oh,
because
yes.
you say, well, I don't have an illustrator. Let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we now have so many avenues to create illustrations. The back of Sally's Heart, I went to Copilot and said, please create me a back cover for a children's book with double hearts. And that's what you got.
Did you get it on one try?
I did.
That's unusual.
But they knew exactly what I want. Many
Yeah.
times I'll say,
Well,
make
see,
it darker, make it this, but this
I
time it
think-
was perfect.
I think writers are the best people to use AI to illustrate,
Yes.
because we know how to say what we want, how
Yes.
to get, how to paint an image with words. If you can paint the image with words, then you can create it. My angel book that I showed you earlier, it was illustrated completely by AI. And if I can take just 5 minutes to segue how I got into that,
Absolutely.
because I'll be honest, I've got probably another 5 children's books, either ready or almost ready to go. And for a long time, I didn't know what to do, because I didn't have an illustrator. I had the words, but I had no illustrator. And that's one of the things that writers have problems with, children's book writers especially. How do I find a reliable illustrator? Because I had this woman, fantastic author, artist. She sent me just enough to get her hooks in me, and I really wanted to work with her. I could afford her. And then she said, I've had second thoughts about this. I don't think I really want to be known as a children's author, illustrator.
Why?
Like, I asked her that. She said she wanted to be known as a manga artist. Well, I don't care. We'll turn this book into manga art. I would be happy with manga mermaids. It would have been happy. But anyway, she just backed off, and I don't want to stereotype, but it's been let me not even go that way. Linda Humphrey. She had an artist, had her in the palm of her hand, and Linda had already paid her several $100s, and she just said, I don't think I want to do this anymore. And
I
Linda
hope
said,
she
"I would be
refunded her
willing
money."
to pay you double what I've already paid you. And the woman said, no, it's not worth my time. So I was really at a crossroads when it came to how do I get my books published. Now bear in mind, my first children's book, I wrote it, God, I have to stop and think. I've known Curtis for almost 30 years, and I wrote this book before I met Curtis, so it's at least 30 years old.
Right.
And, then I got the inspiration. Y'all know I talk to dead people, and they talk back.
We
But
both
I
do.
heard a voice tell me one day, I want you to write a book about angels for children. It was 2 weeks after my very first memoir came out. And so I said, oh, that's a piece of cake. Children's books, yay! So I sat sat down and I started writing, and I scribbled out 8 lines. And when I got to the period after the 8th line, it was like shutters came down. There was nothing there. And so this went on for 2 weeks. I'd pick up because sometimes I do better with pen and paper, sometimes I do better with keyboard. But I tried everything, and for 2 weeks I got nowhere. So I went to my little prayer corner, and I said, look, dude, because that's what I call God. Sometimes I call him Gus, God, universe, spirit, source, but usually it's dude. So I'm like, hey, dude, you told me to write this book about angels. I can't come up with more than 8 lines, and they don't really sound like a children's book. Clear as day I heard, paint the pictures and the words will come. Well, dude, I'm not a painter. I am. I mean, God knows that I love painting. And I do stuff like this, abstracts.
Right?
Because nobody can look at that and tell me I did it wrong. I did it right because it's mine. But I've since moved on to creating things that other people can recognize. But I worked on these images for 6 weeks. Every night I had an alarm on my phone so that at 10 o'clock at night I would go paint, and I'd paint for 2 hours. And I've actually sold 2 of those paintings that I made during that time. And my son called me on Christmas Day. I remember it so clearly, just to wish me Merry Christmas. And I told him what I just told you, and he said, Mom, you should use AI to paint your pictures. What? No. Why would I do that? How would I do that? Where would I do that? I can't afford AI, because I thought you had to go out and buy the program. You had to go out and spend thousands of dollars to do whatever. And I said, no, I can't do that. He said, Mom, it's free. You can pay if you want to, so that the images become yours. You can have if you pay, you can sell them, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so he gave me a program that I could use at the time. I started using it. I started paying for it. And now anybody who knows anything about angels will understand the significance of this. I created 444 images.
There you go.
And boom, it was like, okay, let's write the book now. And I have knowledge of things, but I also hear these words. So I started going through the images. I certainly didn't need 444, but some of the images are complex. I mean, I use 5 different programs to create a book. Now I just use Yvonne. I don't have to use 5 programs anymore. She can use what she wants.
I use 5 or 6 programs.
Easy.
And it's
because
okay.
you've got to manipulate the images, and I would take I might take a tree from one picture and put it on another picture, or put it on another page. I did that a lot in Sally's Heart. Sally's Heart was illustrated by a human. But that's another story for another story. But anyway, I did these images, and then I showed it to Linda Humphrey, and the woman just sat there with tears coming out of her eyes. She said, I've written a children's book, and I can't find somebody to illustrate it for me. And I was so busy at that point in my life not living my purpose. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, you got it. You work a job, or you do some kind of volunteering, and you think this is what I'm supposed to be doing until you quit doing it.
Yep.
And I do believe that for 7 years, my purpose was Be Unique Magazine. I'm certain that it was, but it wasn't my full life purpose.
Well, Be Unique gave you the opportunity to stretch your knowledge and wisdom to get you where you are now.
Exactly. And it gave me experiences that I never would have had. And it also gave me the, I don't want to say experience or knowledge, but yet that's what it boils down to be able to say, Yvonne, you're doing something wonderful for writers. I want to be a part of that. And to, throw my books into your ring and say, park me in your stable, Mama.
Because
Because,
when we started this, she was looking for agents. I didn't push her. I never
Nope.
even asked her because it was her decision to make in her time. And
and that's what
that's
I
what she
love
did.
about you is you're not pushy, but you're very supportive, you're very encouraging, and the way you promote your writers is beyond anything I've ever seen anywhere. Most publishing houses create a website and there'll be a link that says our authors. And you have to click that link and you have to go find the authors and see what they've done. Yvonne puts all of her authors out there so anybody who's paying attention can find them. And it's not pushy, but it's also not passive.
Mm-mm. It's an encouraging. It's an encouraging journey. It's like I've said before. So many people, when I started this journey 20 years ago, were so supportive, and we were on a journey, ladies and gentlemen, that if we could have been stoned, we would have been. We were hated, and there were a
People,
band of
but
us.
not only hated, but also dismissed.
Yeah, we were very
Wait,
dismissed.
wait, you've published your own book?
How dare
You
you?
mean you don't have a real publisher? How
Huh?
insulting.
Yeah,
Seriously.
and the same.
And I went through that with some writers groups that I belonged to at that time. Wait, you're making how much writing for a newspaper? But yet you don't have a book.
And the
So you're
thing
not
is,
really a writer.
those authors that were in those writers groups, 10 to 1, they were with vanity publishers. Now, if you don't know what a vanity publisher is, I will explain it to you. A vanity publisher is a publisher that says, I will publish your book for $0. However, in order to do that, you have to agree to buy 500 copies of your book in order to make up for what it would cost me to publish your book.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, time is money. I spend, if any, Mary knows, I spend from the time I get up until I can't hardly see anymore working for my authors. That is a commitment I made to myself when I started this because it is important to take care of those who have entrusted their craft to me. I do not charge for my work. Time is money, but you know what? God blesses me in so many ways. It is time consuming to get a book, to go through it. If it's not formatted to 6x9, I have to format it to 6x9. If it has all these other things in it that doesn't need to be there, like graphics and subchapters and yada, you gotta make it readable. People don't want parentheses and sentences.
Oh
They
God,
really don't.
no.
They don't.
That's one of
It's
my pet peeves is parentheses.
mine too. They don't want to have to go back and see where they started from to catch up with where they are. They want a concise, easy readable book. I get all kinds of books from folks, and that's okay. I can fix them. I spend hours and hours fixing them. My sweet little Sherry, who I absolutely adore, her 25-year dream, she sent it to me in Google Docs by chapter with photos. Wanted the photos in color. I said, Sherry, understand that if I put more than photos in this book, it's already huge, but if I put more than 4 photos in this book that are color, people are not going to be able to afford the book.
Nope.
Because when they do a color print, it costs.
Yes, it does.
So you have to take all that into consideration. Once I load that book up on Amazon, I have to wait 24 hours for them to review it, and then they either say, "Oh yeah, this is good. It meets all of our requirements," or they kick it back and say, "Well, you got to fix this, you got to fix that, and it's okay. I don't mind. Children's books, I'm going to tell you, have been a challenge because when I load them up on Kindle, I don't load them up like I load up a print book. I have to go to a different section, which is called children's books, and they have to be loaded up as JPEGs, one slide at a time. So a 48-page books with 48 pictures, you start with the very first one, you load it, then and you have to load them up one at a time, and then you have to go and look at it, make sure it looks good. Then you have to save the file. Then you have to go to Amazon and load it up on Amazon. Then you check that it looks like it's supposed to when you know how you do the review. If it doesn't look right, or if you've got in Linda's book, I had one picture in twice. I had to take it back down, go back, remove the picture, load it back up, save the file, put it back up on Amazon. This is what I do. It is not a click my fingers.
Don't you love it?
I do. It's a challenge. I love challenges.
And when you've got an author like Sherry, who is, you can see the joy in her still photos and in her videos. It's just, to me, that is so much fun to just watch her. And you having been a part of bringing that
and
to fruition.
The reward of her whole dynamic of living has changed. She has a more positive attitude. She feels more sure within herself as a creator of beauty, which this book is. And to see that change in her, you cannot put a price tag on it. And I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of you and Linda, because having the trust to move from having to buy 500 books at one time to, okay, Vaughn, take it and do what you do. And if we only want 2 author copies, we can order 2 author copies.
Yeah.
There's no minimum.
That's one of the reasons that I really moved to Amazon the first time, because, and folks, I'll tell you what I'm doing is I'm taking my site down and giving it to Yvonne, because I trust her and I love her that much but that's been hard for me.
It has, because
I have been, I want to control it. I want to have my little fingers in it. And I've had to come to terms with the fact that I'm a control nut. I'm trying to wean off of that bottle, it's not where I want to live the rest of my life.
But the beauty in this
Yvonne's
is
helping me achieve that.
And the beauty is, I send her things. I don't arbitrarily just go with it. I send her, what do you think? If you're married to the cover that you have, we'll go with it. However, here is the question of the day. You make the decision. And this is the way I've raised my kids. Okay, you want to do this thing. Here's another option. But if you make that choice, it's your choice to make. And I'll support you. I might hate it and shake my head and go, what were you thinking? But we'll go with it. And if it doesn't work, we'll change it.
Yeah, and the Cornfield book, I have been working with Linda for the better part of a year to get that book on Amazon. And the problem really was that I was working with her on her account. I had access to her KDP account. So every time that it got kicked back, it went to her. She got the notification. And then it was making her very frustrated. So she told me to stop.
Because she doesn't understand the process.
Right. All she sees is the rejections.
Right.
And so with you handling it, it's coming to you. It tells you what you need to do, and you fix it. And it may take a minute, because it's a different size book. But if we have to resize it, we have to, we got to do what we got to do.
Well, we're going to see what happens after today because I'm down to 9 pages now of fixing.
Okay.
The cover's perfect, and I'm down to 9 pages of adjusting the size, the bleed area. And so
Yeah.
we'll see what happens in the morning. With, was it your book? Yes, with Sally's Heart. I had to play with that thing for 2 or 3 days, and every day it was one less page, and I would go, "Oh, goody! Now I'm down to 1 page." But it's okay because it is still a learning process.
Yes.
We, if you want to do a comic book, we have the availability of putting it on Kindle.
Yes.
So
Graphic novels.
we can put a video on Kindle. Believe it or not, there's a way to do it. So the sky's the
What
limit.
kind of video?
Well,
What do
that's
you mean you can do a video on Kindle?
like a movie, like an animation. If you want to create
How
an,
long?
well, that I haven't checked into because it hasn't popped up. It hasn't. Those questions have not been asked. We've not ventured into that pool yet. So,
Okay.
because we're still playing with the kids' books. But when I was trying to do the research on what I was doing wrong to fix it, it says, "Oh, if you want to do videos, you do that." I went, "Okay, don't, no squirrel today." We're busy with the getting the photos out.
I can relate to that.
We're not playing
Ooh,
squirrel
butterfly.
today. So that's for another day. But we can put animations up. The sky's the limit with us. It's
'Cause I'm already dreaming.
Here we go. Here we go, ladies. This is how we roll.
I am already dreaming about something to do.
See.
There are ways to accomplish all of our dreams,
When
and we just have to get out of our own way.
we said this at the beginning when we started this show. I ran Blog Talk Radio for many, 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 many years until they died. She ran her own Blog Talk show until they died, and we were trying to find where can we go to do a podcast. Well, I kept looking, and here we are. It's if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way to do it. I tell my
Absolutely.
children, if you see a mountain and that mountain looks so high, you wonder how you're going to get to the top. And you try climbing up the top of that mountain and you keep sliding down. You climb up again and you slide. After the third time, you find another way. You either go around it or you go through it, or you hack that mountain down. There's an old adage. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
This is the beauty of Midnight Publishing. We do not allow anything to stand in our way. I'd never put together a book like Sherry's before, but I guarantee you I learned. Now it's up on all 4 formats because she wanted those pictures in there, and it she sent me one chapter at a time. I can't tell you how many times, but we did it, and we did it as a team because that's what we do here. That's what's important,
Yeah.
is that we're all a team.
And getting back to the children's books, I would definitely encourage anybody who wants to work with anybody, but especially with Yvonne, on a children's book, make sure your book is complete.
Yes, please.
Don't be sending, here's page 1, here's chapter 2, whatever. You want to have the whole book because, like she said earlier, she reads every word. She gets a feeling for what will work on the cover. Now, I'm working on my Faith and Folly, which is another memoir similar to Go with Angels. And I had an idea for a cover last night, and I will sketch that out and send it to you. And then you'll go through the book and go, no, that's not what I'm going to do. Thanks for trying, Mary.
Maybe
But,
not.
you know, yeah, it was something that came to me in not quite a dream, that moment when you're half awake, half asleep, and
Yep.
you have these great inspirations. And I have an idea of how I want the cover. Um, I got to play with it a little bit, figure out the coloring that I want, because I think it's got to be a certain contrast, but we'll figure it out together.
Together.
And
This is
I
what we do.
love that about Yvonne. I can send her some ideas and she can go, well, what about this? And she sends something back and I'll say, well, maybe, what about this one? And then together we come up with something that works.
And most of the time, it's a combination of what we've been thinking all along.
Yeah.
When I redid when my former publisher died, this is how I got into the publishing business, ladies and gentlemen. My former publisher died. Now, I believe that everything happens in God's time and for a reason.
Absolutely.
I was only doing short stories with her because I had not yet come out of a period of grief. It has been a long 6 years since Jack died. And I had sent her two authors. Well, before she could publish the second author, I get a text message that she had died overnight. And she was younger than me. And I'm going, what the hell? So my author said, well, what are we going to do? We'll probably never see the light of day again. And I said, well, just let me think on these things. So I came home, and like Mary, I had a conversation with the answerer of all of my problems, tribulations, and questions. And I said, okay, God, do I need to do this? Is it in your plan at this point for me to take this step? Because I never wanted to publish. I never wanted to be a publisher. And God said, if not who? If not now, when? You have the craft, you have the ability, you have the talent, you have the contacts, you have the books that you've already done and that they have already done. Go forth and multiply. And he didn't
Yeah.
mean children. So that's what we did. And because Amazon has made it so easy now, it's so easy. And the Midnight Publishing logo was created by a friend of mine, and it happened for a reason. My very first author was Jason Wolfgang Gerhardt. He said, will you republish The Ferryman? Now, if you haven't read that book, oh my, I read it when he first published it. It's written on an entirely different level. The man is phenomenal. And then Andrea sent me hers and said, would you like to republish my old works? They never got the love they deserved. And I agreed with her. And I've read a lot of her books. And I said, sure, send them. So she just keeps sending. We're doing the short story one. And today I told her to write a book based on a friend of hers. And of course I got my friend down south, her inspirational books. Then I got another author friend at church that wanted me to do her book. So it's grown at a pace of steadiness, which is as it should do. Because if you go in too fast, it doesn't succeed. So it's grown on a level that it should, one bite at a time. And then
Organically.
organically. And then we get Mary and Linda, and every day, every week, someone else will come along. And yes, we're always looking for authors. And I'm going to step out on a limb here and say I'm sure that if we have more children's authors out there, that if I ask Mary to give me input about illustrations, if you don't know how to use AI, or you don't have an illustrator, or you don't know how to illustrate on one, or even know where to start with illustration, we can probably make it happen for you.
Oh, absolutely. I will either work with you doing that, show you how. And I've done that with other authors. They don't want me to do it for them. They want to do it themselves. So I give them the tools they need.
And it
Um,
works.
and you mentioned that when we first started talking, I was looking for an agent. And I want to share something that I think is really important. I wrote a novel called Steep Steps, and it's based on a single incident in my life, but a lot of factors in my life. Because there was one point where I just said, why do men think they can talk to me this way? It just blew my mind, the things that men thought were acceptable. And so I wrote this book. It's about a man who has a sex addiction, or sexual compulsion, as they call it. And I had to do a lot of research. I've had probably half a dozen people say, oh, this needs to be made into a TV show. Okay, fine. How do you do that? Well, nobody had the answer for me. I did find a few people who gave me some answers, and their answer was always, well, you need a literary agent who represents film and books. I'm like, okay, I'll start looking for an agent. So I spent months. I started it on my birthday this year, so up until about a month ago. So I spent 6 months looking for an agent. Every day I was querying dozens of people, and every day I get rejected over and over, which that's not a big deal. I heard one agent say every author should be rejected at least 100 times a year.
What?
No. Yeah.
Boy,
Now, this
that's
is
an ego waiting to happen.
right. And it's true that I had already published this book, so a lot of them didn't want to do anything with it. And Yvonne said, well, that doesn't scare me. I'll just republish it and we'll go from there. And I said, well, I really think I need to find an agent. And she said almost word for word what my husband said. Mary, your time is too valuable to spend it looking for somebody who's going to turn you down. Your time is better spent writing another book. And I said, oh, well, then I can look for an agent with a new book. And she says, no. So the rest, as they say, is history. I'm now at Midnight Publishing, and very happily so. And that's why my mind is going, we can do video on Kindle. Maybe we make our own film. Maybe we do I don't know how that's going to happen. But
Anything's possible.
Well, I know a few people in the film industry who have the equipment to make it happen, and if I wanted to, I know how to go about recruiting people to make it happen.
There
So
you go.
if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I don't care. Because I've never been married to the idea that I should have a film of any sort. I've always been a writer. Always. First and foremost, I'm a writer.
Think of it this way. If we choose to take it in that direction with the people that, and I know who you're talking about that we both know, start out making it a short film. Because if you make it a short film, we post it on YouTube, we post it on the website, we post it on all the social media sites, and in God's time, somebody will see it.
Yeah. And also I could do film festivals.
Yep.
And the beautiful thing about doing a film festival as an author, I can show people my film, but I can also sell my books.
There you go.
I'm always thinking, last week we talked about marketing.
Yes.
A writer, I don't care if you're an indie author or if you're signed with Random House or Knopf Books or any of them. You have to always be marketing yourself. That's just what you do. And I hear a lot of authors say, well, I'm not good at sales. Well, then you never will be. Because you just sabotaged yourself. But the minute that you say, I wrote this book and I love the story and I want you to love it too, you don't feel like a salesperson anymore.
Well, you
feel
sell
like
yourself.
an ambassador.
Well, remember when you and I first met and we discussed this, and one of the things that I have preached since I was a little bitty girl, and I learned this from my father, who only graduated from high school, who had a learning disability, but had a very successful heat and air business. You don't sell the product, you sell yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And the product follows as a byproduct of you. And if you don't, even if, let's just say, for the sake of this conversation, you have a very low self esteem, but you want to write. You're a good writer. So, what you have to do is, this is what I told a friend of mine, you have to fake it until you make it. You have to understand that you are the only you there is.
Yep.
You are unique in your own self, and it doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. That's not a you problem.
No.
That is a them problem. And if they
What you think about me is not my business.
that's right. And those that matter don't mind. Those that don't matter, forget them.
Yeah.
Because it's not about what the world thinks about you, the individual. It's about where you are inside. Your character. Now, reputation is whatever other people think about you. Your character is who you really are.
Yes.
And there would be some in this village that say I have a very bad reputation. But that's because they only know what they have in their heads,
Right.
what they have presumed. And I tell them all the time, don't presume you know me. Because when you presume you know me, you make an ass out of both of us. And honey, that ain't, no, that girl don't rock this. Because I am Mary will tell you I'm a very kind, unselfish, caring, loyal friend, mother. That's what I do. I'm also hard as tack. I will put you in a wall.
I can explain you. You're kind of like a porcupine minding her own business.
Yep.
You leave me alone, and those who love me, and they know how to approach me. But if you don't know how to approach porcupine, you're going to end up getting stuck. And it's not any fault of the porcupine. It's just the way it's made. And Yvonne will, I can only imagine, she would go toe-to-toe with Andre the Giant.
I did, across the street.
I'm not at all surprised.
He's almost 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
And he weighed over 300 pounds. And at an HOA meeting, he started verbally abusing me, trying to stand over me. I stood up and put my hands on the table and told him to get out of my face. And I warned him, I said, I do not tolerate abusers, people who harass, or people who try to intimidate me. Understand that I will take you down. And I have the skill set to do that. And he kept on. And my friend Louise said, come with me now, Michael. Now. And he kept on, and she could see the steam rise. And I was getting ready to go over the table and take his knees out from under him. I would have given him a heart attack right then and there, and he'd been deader than a doornail.
Like a little chihuahua.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I know that I don't have the skill set physically to take anybody down, but Curtis has always said that I could knock a man to his knees with just my words.
Yep. Cut their throat and their head falls
And
off.
as he says, and that look.
The look.
The look. You give them the look, and they know they've crossed a line.
Except this man didn't know when to shut up. He did not know. He just kept on poking the bear. And when Brandy will tell you, when I have said, you might want to stop now,
It's too late.
Because then your head's going to be rolling off down the hill somewhere, and you're going to be trying to find it, and it's not there. And people also don't understand that when I say something or when I post something, I've already researched it. I already know the facts. I do not arbitrarily waste words. I don't have time for it. So if I'm
Just
coming
like
at
last week, every time I'd ask you a question, I already knew the answer.
exactly.
But, it's boring for two people to sit there and talk at each other. So, that's why Yvonne and I work so well together because we know each other.
And we know the answer, but we like
Yeah.
to ask the question. So
And,
yeah,
and on the off chance that I ask Yvonne a question and she doesn't know the answer, I've already got it. And it's the same with me. She'll ask me something and she's got her answer back as a backup, just in case I stare into the lights and go, what?
I see the light, but no answer.
Is that a tunnel?
But ladies and gentlemen, this is the whole point of this conversation, and letting the masses into a little bit of who I am is I know my character. I know who I am, and I am comfortable. Trust me, I am so comfortable in my skin that I will never take it off until it fades
Exactly.
away after I die.
And that way you don't have to worry about a second face.
No, because I see the masks changing all the time on people. I don't. What you see with me is what you get. If you ask me for advice, my first question to you is, "Are you sure you want the answer?"
Yeah.
Because I will never lie to you. I will always be honest, and I will give you an answer, but it might not be the one you are expecting because I don't sugarcoat.
But yesterday when I was reading Murder in the Village,
Yeah.
I heard you, I saw you, I felt you, and I'm like, oh, she's lived this. This isn't complete fiction.
No, I
It's,
lived it. Yeah.
this is fiction based on fact.
Yep.
And that one Lana Lala, whatever her name
Oh,
is,
Lala. Yes, she's real.
oh, I know she has to be.
She's
But
real.
you described that look of where she's being all nice and friendly and trying to get what she wants, and then she
Yep.
switches. And you described that so well, and I thought, oh, do I know people like that? Yes, I do. And has Yvonne described them accurately? Absolutely. This book, to be so little, has such a wealth of information in it. I mean, you get a little inside peek into law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
You get another little inside peek into what you did in a former lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
You get a little peek into the dreams and wishes of a sweet little old retiree who wants to just go off and be alone, sit on her perch on her porch, and watch the birds. And having her plans thwarted, and God help those who thwart her. And I'm like, oh, this is pretty much a memoir.
Pretty much. And then minding my own business in the shower, trying to decide how I'm going to finish this book halfway through it, and the queens are going, "Hi, we're
We're
coming
here to help you. We have shown up in your shower to help you. Boys, get out of my shower. Well, we're girls.
We're
It's
girls."
okay. I really, really, really liked how you portrayed them and their entire. I had no idea how you were going to do this because I read Pink Canary about 8 years ago.
Right. You need to reread it.
I probably do. But that was one of the books that you gave to Be Unique when we did our very first event, and it became
Yeah.
a giveaway. But I'm sorting through these books going, well, before I give this one away, I got to read it. I knew I had to read Pink Canary. And I'm like, okay, she says the drag queens are back. But they're different. They have a different way of presenting themselves this go around. Just slightly enough different. And yet they're still, I mean, my God, Penelope.
But you see, they have evolved because they're also in the When Fates Collide series. They're in When Fates Collide Mardi Gras Bound. They show up there. They show up in When Fates Collide Arm Candy, and they showed up in Shady Rest, which was released before Murder in the Village. And in each book, they evolve to the storyline of, and I don't know how I don't do it. They do it.
You don't. And this is something, whether you're writing a children's book or adult fiction, when you get into the writing, the words, in my case, they just kind of happened. With a novel, you've got characters, you've got personalities, and you, if you're going to write well, you're going to give each character his or her own unique personality. And they're going to have their own way of speaking. And everybody in this book took on a different persona. But the drag queens, they got to play both sides of the fence. But I just, Penelope, oh, I know.
She showed up and showed out. She just showed up.
We swing from a different tree. But, you know, it's just the words. I mean, Yvonne's not a drag queen. How would she know this? But
Because
she-
I had some wonderful, wonderful mentors who
Yeah.
are.
And you take the experiences you've had in your real life and you build from there. And you talk to these people and say, I'm writing a book and it's going to be starring these 3 people and I want to base one of them on you. Can you give me some advice? Or you just remember conversations you've had, but you can't say, well, I wrote this book by myself, because you didn't.
No, I never write a book by myself. Never, ever write a book by myself.
I've been waiting for one of my characters in my sequel to Steep Steps. Been waiting for her to come forward and say, okay, we're ready.
And they will when they are.
She will when I get Steep Steps moved over. She told me this. She said, you get Steep Steps moved over to Midnight Publishing and we'll talk.
There you go.
It's because my characters know that I have to work things chronologically. I have to work things, they have to be organized a certain way before I can just jump into it. Just like with my Angel book. I couldn't come up with the words until I had the images.
There you go.
And then once I had the images, I had all the words. I mean, that book took me 4 months from the moment I was inspired, I had the idea, to the moment I had a hard copy in my hands. 4 months. My first book took 40 years.
Mine did too.
Steep Steps took 8 years. I've got another novel. I started it. I've got maybe the second draft, and now I need to go back and figure it out. But it's been sitting idle for about 15 years.
Way too long.
Way too long. And I still don't know what the title of the book is, but I'll figure that out when I get back into it. But, you know, I've got all these different books that I want to get done, and I can't proceed with the books that I want to do until the books quit talking to me that want to come first. And that's everything. I mean, I did Go with Angels. I knew I was going to do that. My Angel book, Sally's Heart, A Journey with Angels, I had no idea I was doing them. Steep Steps came along in the mix of all this. And I had to stop what I wanted to do and do what had to be done.
And this is what everybody's screaming now. When's the sequel coming out? And I have to tell them, look.
I just got, the ink is not dry on this one yet, folks.
Can you give me a minute?
Smell it, and it smells like wet ink.
Just can you give me a minute? We have to let the characters start talking again. It took a year for this one.
But that's one reason why I think you and I especially do other things.
Yes.
We paint, we do photography, And we do these things as a way to stay creative. And it's also why you jumped into Midnight Publishing, because you had to keep your fingers in the pie.
You have to, because what happens is when the voices stop talking, you can sit there all day long with your fingers on a keyboard and look at a blank sheet of paper. And you go nowhere. So why not do something to help wake the voices up?
When people say I have writer's block, that's a lazy way of saying I don't want to put forth the effort to change what synapses are snapping in my head.
Right.
Because this is something that I learned years ago when I was doing newspaper work. In between each article, and I might do 4 or 5 articles a week, but you cannot go from story to story to story to story, especially when they're diverse characters and totally different subjects, without your brain going,
I'm on overload. Short
Yeah.
circuit, short circuit, short circuit, shut down,
Well-
shut down, shut down.
I used to have migraines constantly. And I think I had a migraine yesterday, which was really surprising, but I think it was because I was telling myself what I need to do. I had in my mind, I needed to finish Yvonne's book. I needed to write the review on Amazon. I needed to make a review post about it. And then I needed to do some editing on Faith and Folly. And then I needed to do another painting. And I need. And what does a baby do when it needs too much?
It cries.
And I don't cry as much as I used to, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad, but I used to be the family crybaby. But last night I was just about to start a new project, and my vision just went from here to started doing this. And then when I got to there, it was doing like this, and I'm like, oh, I know what that means. That means the migraine's on the way.
And
Let's go to bed.
Yep, time to stop.
So I had to stop, because if you don't stop, Mother Nature will stop you.
Oh, absolutely. And this is what we as creative people have to learn to do, is all things in moderation.
Yes.
I know that when I start making the same mistake over and over again in something I'm doing, it's time to stop and go away and do something mindless, so that
Take a walk.
the brain
Go
has
pet
to
Lenny,
generate. Yeah,
whatever.
the brain has to it's like any muscle. If you overuse it, you tear it down and it never repairs itself. So am I on this thing 24/7? I might be, but I might be looking at stupid stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
I might be reading an article. I'm not doing the things that I do for a living, because my brain has said, hey, stupid, if you don't stop, I'm fixing to just bitch slap you all over the place.
Yep.
Just to get your attention. And I've learned, do all things in moderation. Step away from it. And that's another thing with Midnight Publishing, and Mary will tell you, I refuse to put pressure on any of my authors. I need your book by this deadline. No, I do not need your book by this deadline. I get your book when I get your book. Because it is wrong to put that kind of pressure on a creative person. It is terribly wrong. We are not out there trying to please somebody else. You have a creative mind. You use that creative mind when it's working. When it's not, take a break. Again, bless her heart, Sherry kept apologizing. I said, Sherry, honey, breathe. There is no pressure. You get it to me when you get it to me. It's okay. We're not gonna get everybody all Twitter-pated because they think that they have to get it to me by a certain day. Look, I'm retired. I'm in the last quarter of my life. You think I'm going to put deadlines on myself? No. Life's too short. Way too short. And on top of that, you never do anything right when you're pressured. No, you make too many
Well, you
mistakes.
take all the joy out of it.
You do. It becomes drudgery and not a passion.
And that's one thing that I absolutely love about working with you. And going back to this agent conversation, if I got an agent for Steep Steps, I would have to start the same process all over again for Sally's Heart. And I might have to start again for Angel Books because everybody doesn't believe in angels and everybody doesn't want to publish books about angels and everybody doesn't want to deal with children giving their organs because, you know,
Correct.
that the only way that happens is through death. It's not a happy subject, but it's a happy little book. And people don't realize, oh, I've got an agent. Yay! Well, then you have to resell this agent on every other book. And I'm like Yvonne. I may not stick to one genre in any particular book. Steep Steps is really and truly, it's kind of it's got a little bit of memoir in it, but it's also a educational book about people with addictions, any kind of addiction. It's educational about the 12-step program, but it's also a bit of fantasy because I created an entire world in it. I mean, it looks like our world, but I mean, there's nothing in this world that exists like what I created for this story.
Correct.
It's about relationships. It's kind of a family saga. It's women's fiction. There's so many options in it. Some people consider it a little bit of a cozy romance or a cozy mystery because you're always on the edge of your seat wondering, does he get the help he needs? Does she ever achieve happiness? What happens at the end? So we've got these different genres, but if I had an agent, I'd be hard pressed, and I was for 6 months, hard pressed to find somebody who even cared about it. So now my next book is going, well, I'm not going to say next. One of my other books is about human trafficking. That's a whole nother beast.
It is.
And that is not something I chose.
It
These
shows you.
topics choose me.
And this is which another thing you have to realize, ladies and gentlemen, is if you truly are a dedicated writer, the subject matter chooses you based on your knowledge, your experience, your life experiences, your maturity, your knowledge of the world, your professional experiences, and allow that creative juice to flow. For instance, if you had a degree in zoology and you were a general manager of one of the nicest zoos around, the storylines would just go crazy for you. Allow that to work. Think about what you have done in your life, what you've experienced in your life, and just jot down notes. And I say that because last night I called bingo here in the village at one of the clubhouses that those people like me. Every other Tuesday night, and what I see you laughing.
The House of Yvonne.
Yeah, there you go. And a gentleman came up to me. He says, "You're an author, right?" I said, "Yes, sir, I am." He said, "Well, my children want me to write my life story. They're Italians and they have a very storied history, and the children want to know that history." He said, "I'm not a writer." He said, I've written several pages and I tear them up and throw them away." I said, "That's your first mistake." I said, "Do not throw anything away again." He said, "Well, I ramble." I said, "That's okay. Just write. Doesn't matter."
Sometimes that rambling is awesome.
Don't worry about it making any sense. And that's what I told him. If you get off on another tangent, that's okay. Just write, because no book is ever published on a first draft.
Oh God, no.
Not even on a second draft. Because
I think the only people that manage that are the people we've talked about before, and I'm not going to mention their names today, but they use a formula.
yes,
it's pretty much fill in the blank, but change the names of the main characters, change their hair color, maybe put them in a different time era, change the location, but it's always the same thing. Whether it's a political thriller or a
Right.
romance, because these are the two people that we know that do these two things. They have formulas. They
Right.
fill in the blanks, change the names, change a few things, and get a brand new book title, and boom, they have
There's
another
a book.
bestseller. They sell well because people are familiar. But this is something we also talked about when we talked about cliches.
Mm-hmm.
I have gotten to the point where I refuse to read the same author more than, I have to space them out because I get tired of reading the same phrases in every book.
And it is the same phrases. It you just because either A, they get lazy, or the publishing houses put again the pressure on them that they want another manuscript in 3 months.
Yeah, and that's something that I love about you is if I say, Yvonne, I'm not going to be able to get you Steep Steps. I've got something in my mind. I want to get Faith and Folly out first. Okay, fine. And I might do Steep Steps after that, or I might do A Journey with Angels. I don't know. They will tell me which book needs to go out next. So I get that to Yvonne, and then when I get these 5 books done, unless something else happens, then I'll work on another book. But she's not going to hold my feet to the fire and make me feel insignificant if I
No.
don't meet her deadline. And these authors who have to meet deadlines, they can't be happy. Because I might, at any given moment, say, you know what, I'm going to stop writing for a while and paint. And I might paint for 6 months. I've
And
done it
that's okay.
before.
And that's fine because again, the brain and the characters have to regenerate.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you a non-writing story that kind of goes with what you just said about these 3 month schedules and whatnot. I once worked for Board of Disabilities. I worked with people who had developmental delays for 10 years, and I loved it. And timing, we always talk about timing. 2 days after I walked out on my husband of 25 years, I'm like that Teddy Swim song, The Door. I saved my life when I showed you the door. Well, he wasn't going to see the door, but I had to go through it. I had to walk out and leave him to save my life. And 2 days after I did that, I got a promotion at work, got more money, got a higher responsibility level, and I was in charge of totally running a thrift store and working. I had 6 individuals with me that I trained, everything from intake to retail. It was phenomenal. And we had it set up like a little boutique. It was a cute little thrift store. It was the kind of thrift store you walk into and you go, oh, wow, what have you got new today? I'll be back tomorrow to see what you got new tomorrow. And they always buy stuff. And I was doing very well. Now this was 30 years ago, but I was making $700 for that store a week. Gross. And the grant covered all the net stuff. So we were basically making $700 a week profit. I took a week's vacation. When I came back, my little cute, precious boutique that you could stand at the door and go, oh, I see something blue over there. I see something yellow. I gotta go check this out. It had been turned into a conglomeration of garbage. They brought in dry cleaning racks to hang all my clothes on and anchored them to the floor. So, and they were squeezed together like this. So if you wanted, you couldn't see the blue and the yellow and the green because they were just crammed in there with everything else. And people stopped buying from me because it was no longer the fun boutique.
Mm-hmm.
And my bosses wanted to know what happened. What are you doing wrong? Because your sales have gone down. I said, my sales have gone down because you crammed so much stuff in my store. Nobody can find anything. And it took me the better part of a year to get them to understand that their formula wasn't working.
There
My
you go.
formula worked because my formula was not a formula.
It was
A
simple.
feeling. Yeah, and that's how it is with writing. You just got to go with what feels good. And if you don't, you're not going to make any sales.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
So with that, we are now at almost 2 hours.
Imagine that.
So we will pick this up next Wednesday, and I'm not sure what we'll talk about, but as with everything of me and Mary, it always comes because that's the way we roll.
Well,
So-
yeah, we thought of this story yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. So
It
go
was
on.
really funny because last week Yvonne said, well, Mary will go through her email and she'll send me a story, an idea, a topic. And I'm like, okay, and I just kind of I got busy working with promoting Murder in the Village and My Angel book and Sally's Heart and working on Faith and Folly and having headaches and, just
Life.
whatever, life.
Right.
And then yesterday we were just chatting through text and she said, why don't we talk about all the ways for a children's book and how they're different? And I don't think we covered a third of what we needed to
No,
cover.
there is with children's books. There is so much more, but it's
Because you've got picture books,
Yeah.
you've got chapter books,
yep.
and that's kind of what Linda's is a chapter book. Of
And you
sorts.
have age appropriate books,
Yes,
and they're all formulated differently, but it doesn't mean that we can't do it. So just remember that
yeah,
we don't say no. I only say no to two things:
erotica.
erotica, and I will do fantasy and sci-fi. I won't write it, but I will not publish erotica. It goes against my conscience, and I have to stay true to my conscience.
Absolutely. I won't write erotica. I could. I mean, God knows I could, but I see no need.
Well, you
Right.
have to leave something to the imagination. TV and film ruined itself when they put too much out there, both in horror and in romance, when they put way too much out there and did not leave enough to the imagination. If I'm reading a good book, I don't need for you to describe every sex scene down to the nth degree. Trust me, my imagination can go off on its own very well, thank you.
I'd rather imagine.
There you go. So please, if you do erotica, I'm sorry. If you want to tone it down, we'll talk. But just pure out erotica, no. I do true crime. I have to deal with enough erotica and graphics in true crime. And that is not fiction. That is fact, and it's gruesome, and it stays with you. So, yeah, just go with that.
And that's one reason I don't read most of Yvonne's work. Because I can't handle it.
She doesn't read my true crime, and it's nothing against my writing. It's against it's the
just
fact
the
that it
subject
is.
matter is more than my heart can handle.
It's gritty, it's real, it's brutal, because that is crime. Crime is
That's
not
the way
pretty.
it is.
Yeah, crime is not pretty. It is not. Susie's favorite pet was a dog. No, crime is brutal. It is ugly, and it hurts.
And most of the crimes that you write about are sex crimes anyway.
Yeah, they are. They all three were.
And
All
because of that, you certainly don't need to pretend.
No. No. In fact, I've got another one. My daughter said, Mama, you need to write about Ramonda. Ramonda is my son-in-law's dead sister that raised him. She was murdered. Her husband murdered her. And she said, I have a title for you. I said, what's the title? She said, Murder in a Small Town. I said, okay, I'll put it in my file. So it's probably going to be fiction based on real life, because they ruled that it was just that the car wreck, she hit a tree, and that it was just an accident because they never investigated it. He cut the brake lines.
My father's sister was killed in a very similar accident in the 1950s, I think. Yeah, I'm trying to remember my youngest cousin from that line. Mid-50s, around the time I was born. And my mother has always insisted that the brake lines were cut on her car. And of course, it didn't take him long to bring in another woman.
There you go.
So it was just too
Convenient.
Too convenient.
So there
And-
you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to close this day because we're now at the 2-hour mark. We
Yeah.
don't want to bore you. We will pick this up.
You know,
next
somehow I don't
week.
think we know how to bore people.
No, we don't. So we will pick this up next week. This will be on all the social media sites, including YouTube and Spotify and the website and the Facebook pages. Just give me time for it to load up and save it, and then I will put it up everywhere. And Mary, you will also have it because you linked in, so you can do your thing with it too.
Yep.
And we appreciate all of our readers, all of our authors, all of our listeners. If you have a subject matter that you're interested in, text one of us, send one of us a message, instant messenger, post it on our page, and we will talk about it.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing that there's a person in our chat who just said hi. So I responded. But I want to remind everybody, if you don't want to join us live and chat with us like the Iron Bolt did, then leave us a message, either a private message to Yvonne or me, or comment on any of our posts.
Yep.
If there's a subject about publishing that you want to discuss, and I promise you, if we don't know everything there is to know about it, we will by the time we have our show about it.
We certainly will. We'll research it to death.
And that's another thing I love about Yvonne is, she loves researching as much as I do.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. I learned so much. I mean, you're talking about a kid that at 8 years old read the dictionary and encyclopedias, so what can I say?
Well, yeah, when the bookmobile doesn't come around often enough, but your family has a set of encyclopedias, you read what's available.
But I wanted to know more. No more. So with that, we're going to say thank you for watching and listening, and we will see you again next Wednesday. Mary, I love you. Thank you for the honor of reading my book, of giving me your books. I can't wait to see how this journey goes.
It's going to go into all kinds of fun places, and I'm excited about whatever happens.
It's going to be fun. So until then.
The only thing I'm not excited about is going to the dentist. Ever.
Oh, well. That could be a story within itself.
I should probably write that.
And you should. So with that, we say good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.